Hey again, everyone. So today we will be talking about model view controller, which is known as MVC, and also we will go through a quick tour in our Laravel application to know how the Laravel application is structured, the structure of the files. So let's go back to the model view controller. Model is the layer over the database. So model is a layer over the database where we can handle everything related to the database there in the model. Controller is where our logic is located. So everything logical or the logical operations are located in the controller. You need to write the code for your logic in the controller. In the view, all the HTML, CSS, JavaScript code that all the code that is responsible for the presentation of our front end is located in the view. So you will have something called, if you are using Laravel, we have something called blade.html, blade template. The blade template, you can add HTML code there, and it will be responsible for displaying whatever you write there on the browser, on the front end. So the view is the front end. The model is handling the backend side, which is the database, let's say. The controller is the connection, is the middleman between them. There is no direct connection between view and model, impossible in MVC. Everything goes through controller. So to understand this better, guys, let's take this example. So we said we are designing a Vella's website, right? So let's assume there is a user from New York. This user sending a request to our website. This user wants to see villas that have 4 rooms, okay? And the price of these villas must be under $2 million. So this means there are some filters need to be applied to this request. So he does not need to see all the villas. He only need to see villas with specific conditions. So the controller will check if the request is valid from this user. If the request is valid, so some operations here, some code here will apply the conditions and filters set by the user, and then it will send the request information to the model. We said this model, just consider it as a cover over your database, over your tables. This model will go and check in the database, will take the information from the controller, go to the database, check in the tables that we have there, the villas tables or apartments table, call them whatever you want, and then it will check if we have anything with these conditions. So if we have, let's say, 3 villas meets the conditions that sent by the controller, it will send something called response information. It will be sent from the model with the information requested by the controller. We said that controller check if the request is valid. If the request is valid, then it will apply the conditions set by the user. And finally, it will send it to the model. The model will send the response information to the controller. The controller again here will take this information from the model, which is the final data sent from the model, which, as example, the 3 villas we talked about. Maybe it will send only the ID of these villas. So the ID of villa 1 is 1, the ID of villa 2 is 10, and stuff like this, and so on. Sorry. So after it takes the data from the model, it will send this data to the view. In return, this data will be injected inside H1, H2 table, whatsoever, and it will be presented on our front end. Hope that makes sense, guys. So if I want to present this data coming from, or this data coming from the controller in a table, I will be doing that in the view. So inside the view, I will have variables that having the data sent from the model, handled by the controller, and presented on the view, which is on the front for the user. Finally, the view is responsible. The only responsibility for the view is to present this data the way I wanted to present it to the user. So let's just go again. The request is sent, handled by the controller, and then the request information is sent by the controller to the model. The model will check if we have information matches these filters set by the requester, which is by the viewer. Then, after it handles the request, it will send the data from our tables to the controller. the controller will handle this information and send them back to the view. The view here is built, let's say, with HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap, is responsible to present the data we sent, the data requested by the user to the user, but after it is fetched from the tables or from the database. Hope this makes sense, guys. So after if you don't understand MVC, it's okay. After we start working on our real project, it will 100% make sure for you. Now let's go back to our structure. So we said we have model, view, controller. Let's see them together. So here we have inside the app, we have console. I'm just gonna talk about now the main things, okay? We have the kernel here, PHP. We have exceptions. We can have some exceptions here and handlers. We will talk about handlers later on. We also have the controller inside the HTTP. The controller, I said, which is the place where we have our logic. So we have a default file, which is controller.php. This file is going to be the parent for all the controllers that we are going to create later on. So then we have middleware. Middleware, guys, is just, as example, if I want to access admin dashboard, but as a normal user, I cannot do that. Why I cannot do that? Because I, as a developer, set middleware. That middleware will work as a gate. So it will check some request. If the requester or the viewer have the enough validation, let's say, or enough um, let's say if he have the right to enter this place or to reach this page. So in our example, we said I am an admin, or sorry, I am a normal user. I want to reach the admin dashboard, but this middleware will block me from reaching that admin panel or admin dashboard by some logic. Okay, we will talk about this later on. We talked about the controller. The controller we have, of course, it's PHP. Then we have a class called controller, and this is extended from the base controller. Then we have the models. We said we handle the database, guys, the database inside the model. And we said before that we have the user table. So for each table, most likely we will have a model. Okay, guys. So the model must be singular, as you can see, user. Laravel will know if we make the model singular. Laravel by default will know that it should make table a plural once we do the migration. We talked about the migration the last time. So once we run the migration, if we have a model called user.php, and if we have the migration for the users, then I will have a table called users. The table must be plural. The table name must be plural. So user model, it must be singular. But if I have a table for the users, it must be plural. This is the naming convention for Laravel, and we must follow it so we will not run into any kind of errors later on. So again, the models, they are responsible. They are layer over our database or our table. We deal with our tables through the models. As example here, I have the users table, and I have these columns: name, email, password. They are protected, fillable. And also we have the hidden fields, which are password and remember token. And we have the email verified at and password is hashed, of course. We will talk about everything later on when we create our a new application. Also, we are using here has API tokens. So we are using API tokens. We are using has factory to generate some passwords and stuff like this, which is called trait. We will talk about the trait later. And we have also notifiable. We will be talking about it later. So it's just to use notifications. That's it for the models. We have something called providers. We will explain it later on. I'm just explaining now, or we are just exploring the structure of the files now. Let's just close the HTTP. So then let's close the app. Then, guys, we have the public. Inside the public here, anything inside the public folder is accessible on the front end. So if I want, as example, to add logo, favicon, whatever I add here, it will be accessible on the front end. This image I just showed you before, it was here. Um, we can have a file here for our images. As example, we create a new file, we call it images, and we have all our images inside this folder. Sorry, not file, folder. Then we have also the resources. Remember we said model view, we met the controller, we met also the model, then we have the view. So inside the resources, we have our CSS and JS. Inside the resources, we have everything related to the front end. So we have our CSS, we have our JS, then we have our view. Inside our view, guys, I said we are using blade template. So in PHP, or sorry, in Laravel, we have something called blade.php. This blade template allows us to write HTML code inside Laravel. Okay, so if I open this welcome.blade.php, so by the way we create a blade file, we just name the file here. Okay, name the file here, then add .blade.php. So as example, if I wanna call it home page, I just call home.blade.php. And then as you can see here, I can add in Laravel HTML here. So this HTML is responsible for the home page as we spoke earlier. So that's it for the views. It's really easy. We will talk about them later, of course, with real life project. And then we have something called routes. The routes are let's call them for now are the URL. So we said before that the controller is receiving a request, right? This request is received through routes. Let's just for now, for the basic explanation, let's say it like that. So the routes can be written like this. Routes are URL. So route facade first. Then we have the method, which is get, as example in this case. This is for the home page, guys. This is the route for the home page. This slash means we are at the root. So the root means home page. And then I have either, we can have here either a callback function like this one, or we can have a controller with the method. We can talk about the controller with the method later on, because of course we are going to use it. But for now, let's just understand that the route, we are talking about the web.php. Let's not talk about anything else right now. So inside this callback function, guys, I'm returning the view. Which view I'm returning? The view called welcome, okay? We talked about it before, which is welcome, this one. It's enough to mention only the first name. You don't need to add blade.php, only say welcome. So what I'm doing here, I'm telling my application, if a user went to the home page, which is the welcome page, which is the Laravel main page, if he requested that link, which is this link, the home page, please return the view called welcome. So this view will be returned to the user. Just to explain to you furthermore, if we just created another view here, let's just create another view and we call it home dot blade dot php, and inside this let's just say HTML, HTML5, and here we just going to say h1. This is the home page, and in the route here web.php, we're just gonna say instead of welcome, let's return home. And let's go to the front end. Let's run the server again. So let's go to the terminal, new terminal, and let's do clear. Or let's go to Laravel. It's better for us to go to Laravel. So www and restate. So as you can see, it says this is the home page because I am returning. Let me go back again. So because I am returning here in this route, I am returning the home page, not the welcome, the home view. So if I just say welcome instead of home page and go back here, let's just refresh the page. This is our new home page. So you see how the route works. This is the route, guys, in simple word. We will talk about the routes later on in details. Also, we have the storage. Here also in the storage, guys, I can save my images, my uploads, everything that I need to upload. I can save it either here or in the public. We will talk about this later. If I'm gonna run some automated testing, I can run them here. And that's it. The composer JSON, if you worked with the React or whatever, you met files similar to these ones. So we will talk about them later on when we need them. And finally, the env file, we talked about it before, which is the file that's responsible for connecting our database or preparing our local environment.